Game week 16 has proved to be an eventful week with captaincy blanks, red cards, and it isn't even over yet. However, I have already made a transfer going into game week 17 and we're going to chat about that in today's video alongside all of the other hot topics. So as always, you look forward to it. Make sure to drop a like and of course, smash that subscribe button. Enough waffling. Let's get into today's video. So first up, a quick recap on how game week 16 has gone so far. A reminder, we got one game left tonight. Bournemouth versus West Ham, and I do have Semenyo to feature in that. And as you can see, it hasn't been a great game week. 39 points so far, and it has meant a red arrow from around 155k to 220,000. So I really am hoping and praying that Semenyo gets a hat-trick. Am I hopeful? Absolutely not, but we will see what is in store. So just take a look at how the team got on. Sells with the 2-pointer. I was hoping for a bit more against Aston Villa, but end of the day, Aston Villa are a good team. In terms of the defence, Gabriel ended up playing, thankfully keeping hold of him because he got top bonus and that 9-pointer. One of my transfers in was Trent for Dalot, and I felt very much the fear of missing out with Trent. Yes, he had a great home fixture and a good home fixture in game week 19, but I haven't really seen enough from that 7 million price point to justify the move. So I'm going to be honest with you, that was the definition of a FOMO transfer. So I'm a little bit disappointed in myself that I actually did crumble at the last minute and bring Trent in, but it is what it is. He is in the team and we'll see how long he does stick around. The big disappointment, of course, was Enquiries. Not only did Wolves concede last minute, but he ended up getting himself a red card after the final whistle, which just compounded the situation. -2. And the problem with Enquiries, he is now suspended for game week 17, and he is still one yellow card away from a ban. So what could happen? He could be banned for game week 17, come back in game week 18, get a yellow card, and then miss game week 19. So he is a huge problem if you still have him in your teams. In terms of the midfielders, now I went really left field with my midfielder move. When I decided that I wanted Trent in my team, I couldn't get Alexander Isak. Obviously, in hindsight, that was a terrible decision, but I wanted a piece of that Newcastle attack. And with Brian Mbeumo in my team, I ended up selling him, again, not a good move, to bring in Anthony Gordon. On reflection, I actually think it was a little bit unlucky. After watching the highlights, Anthony Gordon another day gets a double-digit return. So I'm not too bothered about the Gordon transfer. He was always going to be a 3-week punt. Cole Palmer with the captaincy blank. After Salah getting that assist and no haul, we all thought we were in the money with the Palmer situation. Not the case at all. Salah with a 5-pointer and Saka disappointingly with that 3-pointer. Not a problem, the 3 premiums. It was going to happen eventually where they were all going to not get double-digit returns. And it does really show that if they don't deliver, it puts a lot of pressure on these other cheaper assets to deliver. In terms of the front two, Cunha with the 9-pointer. However, if you haven't seen already, there was an altercation after the final whistle, and there is a good chance we could see a ban incoming for Cunha. Gary O'Neill, of course, has gone. There will be a new manager at Wolves, so it's a very difficult situation right now with Cunha. Still is the main man at Wolves, but of course, if he does get banned, that will be a transfer out as well. And then, probably the most disappointing transfer I have made in a long time is João Pedro. Another 2-pointer. He's starting each and every week, but he really is not delivering. So, ended up being 39 points, still Semenyo to go. Hopefully he can get me back into the top 200k and that won't be a bad situation. A little bit disappointed with the moves that I made in game week 16. On reflection, I should have leaned into the Alexander Isak move, knowing that he was the one I wanted long term. It is what it is. Let me know how many points you scored in the comment section. Let's move into my game week 17 transfer plans. So moving into my game week 17 team, and we got to address the elephant in the room, and that is going to be the transfer that I have made. So probably a little bit confusing this one, but I've ended up selling Enquiries for Munoz. Now, Enquiries, as I mentioned, is an absolute sell in my eyes. The reason being is, falling in price, probably will get a double price fall. That's a big problem, especially for somebody like myself who has really poor team value. I just can't afford another player to maybe fall 0.2 million because when we got this assistant manager chip later down the line, we need as much team value as possible for us to get full maximization of that chip. So I really wanted to sell Ain't Nori, and as I mentioned, even when he comes back, he's 1 yellow card still away from suspension. That is a big problem. Now, there were a few options available to me, but there was no way I was taking a -4. I had 0.1 million in the bank. Ain't Nori to Robinson was absolutely a consideration, but with me already having Anderson in my team, didn't make a lot of sense for me to double up on that Fulham defence. So I'm hopeful that Anderson does return from his injury. And Munoz is a weird one because, of course, he is suspended in game week 17. So it's not like I've brought in a player who can instantly help my team out. But I do have Vandenberg to come in at home against Forest. Not an amazing fixture, but Forest aren't free scoring. So that isn't a terrible position to be in if Anderson can't play. And Munoz very much is a player that is coming to my team for the foreseeable future, as I'm seeing really good things from Crystal Palace and I'm seeing really good offensive things from Munoz. I could have gone to Tyreek Mitchell, but I feel like I would have just got the guy that I didn't really want in my team. So that is the move that I've made. Ain't Nori to Munoz. Yes, it doesn't benefit my team this week, but it's got rid of a player that is just going to be a problem to me later down the line. And I feel like being aggressive with my transfer, probably for the first time this season, will pay off in the foreseeable future. So just take a look at the rest of my team right now. Fabianski at home against Brighton, not ideal at all, but I think it is a better one than Sells away against Brentford. But of course, I will reflect on that and see which one I prefer. In terms of the defence, hopefully we do get Anderson back because that'll be a real boost at home against Southampton. Worth noting, Russell Martin has been sacked, so we might see a slight bump in that Southampton team. But again, I still would play my Fulham defender if I owned them. And Trent and Gabriel, regardless of the fixture, get played. The issue, Spurs away is not a great fixture for Liverpool. I spoke about that. And Gabriel away against Crystal Palace now doesn't look great. But Arsenal, regardless, are still such a tough team to beat. You're always fancying those Arsenal defenders for a clean sheet in any fixture. In terms of the midfielders, these are absolutely fine. Saka away against Crystal Palace, Palmer away against Everton, and Salah away against Spurs. For me, captaincy is so clear in my team. It is going to be Mo Salah. I think Everton away is actually quite a tricky game. I know Chelsea are really good right now, and I am a Chelsea fan, but Spurs away, I just think has goals in it for Liverpool, and Mo Salah is just such a consistent returner. It's a bit of a no-brainer in my eyes. And Gordon, of course, the new transfer into the team away against Ipswich. Now again, would I prefer Alexander Isak? 100%. But I do have Gordon in my team, and he can't be coming out with that favourable game away against Ipswich. And in terms of the front three, Visser at home against Nottingham Forest, absolutely fine. That's the reason why I kept him. He is brilliant in these home games. Cunha away against Leicester. We're going to touch on that in a minute because I am going to show you some alternatives to Cunha if we do get the ban incoming. And then Pedro away against West Ham, which is not amazing. I really am off with Pedro, but I need to remind myself that he is a cheap enabler in this team, in a somewhat good Brighton team who have been struggling over the last few weeks. So as I mentioned, I made my move. Ain't Nori to Munoz. The ideal situation is not to make another transfer this week. However, if we do get the news that Cunha is banned and it comes into effect for game week 17, then I do need to make a forward transfer. So let's take a look at the 3 players that I am considering. So once again, as I mentioned, it does look like Cunha absolutely has a chance of getting a long ban after his altercation with the Ipswich staff after the game. Bit of a weird situation for them. And if he does get banned, it could be for numerous game weeks. And with Wolves' fixture run and the price point of Cunha, it is a no-brainer. You sell Cunha even for a points hit. Hence why I made the Ain't Nori to Munoz move, because if I get rid of Cunha, then a points hit is just going to be needed regardless. So there are 3 considerations for my team. Now, with the price point of Cunha right now, I can sell him for around 7.8 million. So Raul Jimenez and Chris Wood can be brought in for literally a straight swap. Alexander Isak, on the other hand, would require an additional points hit in order to free up the funds to get to him. So we got the fixtures first and foremost. Fulham top of the ticker. Southampton at home feels like a great entry point for Raul Jimenez. Then away against Chelsea, not ideal, but we have seen Fulham do the business away from home against other teams. Then Bournemouth at home and Ipswich at home, fantastic fixtures. And then even West Ham and Leicester away, great long-term fixtures for Fulham. So if you are looking for a cheap enabling forward, Raul Jimenez does look great. And when we look at the underlying numbers for him, these are based on per 90 minutes. 0.51 expected goals per 90 is great. And his creativity is not bad at all at 0.27 expected assists per 90. Bonus points just hovering below 1 per 90 minutes. My only problem with Raul Jimenez, and a reason why I didn't bring him into my team in game week 16, he always comes off around the 70th minute. And for the first time this season, we are actually seeing his replacement, Muniz, getting on the score sheet, or at least putting in some positive performances. Came in game week 16 and scored against Liverpool. I feel like it's only a matter of time until Raul Jimenez's minutes are really at risk. So even though he looks great for game week 17, I expect Raul Jimenez to start. Could we see some rotation around game week 19 or 20 where Muniz gets a deserved start in that team? That is my big hesitation with Raul Jimenez long term. Chris Wood looks just like an obvious move that we always ignore. I've been a manager who has ignored Chris Wood all season because he just seems too boring. Now, when we take a look at the fixtures coming up for Forest, away against Brentford shouldn't be a bad fixture. Then Spurs at home, Everton away, Wolves away, Liverpool, and then Southampton in game week 22. Very much a mixed bag, but when we look at the numbers for Chris Wood, they're not incredible. He really has been delivering in terms of his conversion rates, because 2.02 shots per 90 is not great reading, 1.23 of those on target. So he very much is just being clinical in front of goal, and his expected goals per 90 at 0.49. So good numbers. Good on the bonus points, 1.45. Basically, if he scores, because Forest don't score many goals, he just racks up the bonus points. My only problem with him is the shot volume isn't fantastic, but I need to remind myself that when he does take his shots, they are in basically great areas where they are big chances. So that is the reason why Wood is scoring a lot of his goals. He isn't one of those who takes speculative pot shots and really enhances the total shots that we are looking at. So I do like Chris Wood as a sideways move, but it is a little bit boring in my eyes. Finally, Alexander Isak, the man that I should have brought in many, many weeks ago. Now, this will take a little bit of surgery to my team, and I will show you how I would do so if we were to go there this game week. But Isak's numbers right now, again, great numbers, 0.54 per 90, 0.27 expected assists per 90, great shot volume, talisman in this team because, of course, the injury to Callum Wilson means Isak is just going to continue to play in this team unless, it's worth noting, he is an injury-prone player. We might see him maybe blow up over this festive period with a lot of minutes under his belt. Ipswich away. Now, very difficult one to predict here because I don't see Newcastle winning like 4-5-0, but they always are going to score against his Ipswich defence, so we need to remind ourselves that. Then Aston Villa at home in game week 18. Villa defensively pretty poor, so the next two look great. However, Man United away in game week 19, it just feels like Amorim could have enough time by then to get his plans in place, and that could be a bit more of a trickier fixture than we are anticipating. Then Spurs away. I mean, Spurs always give teams opportunities. Then a Wolves side who will have a new manager, and Bournemouth who are always a tough game. So I do think the fixtures are there to be attacked. Are they enough for me to effectively take a -8 for Alexander Isak? I think the answer is going to be no, but we will take a look at the team now to see how he would deviate it to an Isak team if Cunha does get banned. So here's how the team is looking for game week 17 with that move of Munoz. Please ignore the free transfers at the top of the page. It hasn't picked up that I have made a free transfer, so I effectively have 0 free transfers available for game week 17 now. So I'm more than happy with this team as long as Cunha does not get suspended and Anderson is available. Worst case scenario, Vandenberg comes in for the Forest game at home and we just hope Brentford somehow get a clean sheet. Moving into game week 18, again, this is how the team would look. I would most likely bring Munoz in for Anderson, and I would like to bring in Semenyo for Visser. And if I wanted to, I could easily roll my transfer in this week and give myself 2 in game week 19. A quick reminder of the standout fixtures in game week 18 because it very much is an appealing game week. Arsenal at home against Ipswich is great. Bournemouth at home against Crystal Palace doesn't look as good anymore with Palace's form recently. Brighton at home against Brentford, there's always going to be goals in that game. Another reason to keep João Pedro in your team. Chelsea with the home game against Fulham, maybe a little bit difficult. And of course, we've got Liverpool at home against Leicester and Man City at home against Everton. Those are the real standout fixtures in game week 18. But for my team, no obvious paths for me to get any other player. So I think I would be more than happy to roll the transfer in this week, of course, depending on the Cunha situation. One move that I could do is maybe take a -4 in this game week and get rid of Cunha to another forward. But I don't think that would be desperate if we were to get to a spot where Cunha doesn't get suspended. And then going into game week 19, this is where having Munoz would be beneficial. With that home game against Southampton, Sells would come in for here. And again, Anderson could easily come in for someone like a Semenyo or a Gordon if I deem it bad. But I will need to sell Cunha by this point in game week 19. So he is on the chopping block regardless. Now, if we do quickly reset the team and take a look at a situation where if Cunha was to get suspended, what would we do with this team? Well, as I mentioned, getting rid of Cunha for someone like a Raul Jimenez is a very, very easy move for my team. And what it will do is it will allow myself to then have cash in the bank for later down the line. So Raul Jimenez comes in for that great Southampton game, but I am cautious that, of course, this is going to be a problem longer term with his minutes. I am very confident of that. Then Raul Jimenez will probably have to get benched in this week for Semenyo, which is an easy rotation, and the team would look something like this. And then in game week 19, if Raul Jimenez is still a feature, then he could come in for anybody really who has a bad fixture here. For example, Semenyo, if I deem that bad. So Raul Jimenez is a great player to bring in who rotates perfectly with the rest of the team. And as I mentioned, if I want to go to a player who just is basically ticking over each and every week, I can easily bring in Chris Wood away against Brentford in game week 17. Home against Spurs in game week 18, which really is not much of a problem at all. And then I could just bench Visser, who always blanks away from home. And then in game week 19, Chris Wood away against Everton, which isn't amazing. But again, I always back him in most fixtures, and even in game week 20 away against Wolves. So both of those are absolutely fine. I think Raul Jimenez is more of a temptation. I just take the risk with the minutes. But Wood just feels like a safety blanket each and every week. Finally, like the really aggressive move, and one that I probably should have made, to be honest with you, is going to be bringing in Alexander Isak. Obviously, just knowing long term he is a fantastic move. The problem is, you can see at the top of your screens, a 1.8 million I need to free up in this team. When you take a look at the players I have available to me, the only player that I can actually take those funds out of is going to be Anthony Gordon, which is a real problem for me because I only just brought him in, and it is very, very painful. I can't get rid of Semenyo because I don't have enough cash. So it would be getting rid of Anthony Gordon, and effectively, I think it would have to be a case of doing one of a few things. Either bring in Amad Diallo for that home game against Bournemouth, and I do think Amad Diallo is actually a really interesting player long term. I think he is absolutely what they want in that Man United team. We've seen Rashford and Garnacho taken out of the squad, so I think Amad is locked in long term for this team. That would probably be my preference. I feel like Enzo is great, but I would want to be a little bit different and maybe bring in Amad. So the team would look like this for game week 17. Of course, the problem, it would be a -8, which is a real issue for me in game week 17. Then the team would look pretty solid going forward. It would look great. So we need to understand whether Alexander Isak is worth the -8. As of right now, I'm just hoping Cunha doesn't get suspended, and then I can leave the team as it is and just let it breathe for 1 week. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Yes, guys, okay, that's going to wrap up today's Game Week 17 transfer plans video. Hope you did enjoy it, and as you can see, I've got myself in a little bit of a pickle with my team, but hopefully Cunha doesn't get suspended. As always, if you have any questions, please do pop them in the comments section, and if you haven't already, drop a like and smash that subscribe button. We will be doing the usual videos of team selection at the end of the week. I'll be doing a best transfers video as well, alongside maybe a live stream mid-week. So hope to see you then. Take care. Have a great day. We'll talk real soon. Cheers.